Hello and welcome to Old Cove Unplugged. I am Aaron Wallace, the creator of Tomorrow's New Day, and I play Lawson Reef. And I am joined by Gregory Barbera, who is our narrator with the mostest.
Thank
He's
you.
the host that guides us through the streets and the drama of Old Cove. How are you, Greg?
Very good. How are you doing?
Great. Today we start production on season 3. Can you believe it?
It is season 3. Who knew we are here already at season 3? We're going to have another conversation talking about season 6. It'll be here before we know it.
I definitely hope so. I know I want us to get into the triple digits for sure.
Perfect.
But I have
I'm there.
ideas, and I love the community we're building. So I just don't know. It's going to be a while before I'm able to let go.
Right.
So I just wanted to talk to Gregory, not as a group, just one on one. Let us get to know a little bit about Gregory Barbera. So tell me, Gregory, who are you?
Oh. Well, I don't have any lines in front of me. I don't know what to say. So, as I said before, I was born in the 1900s. I
You
am,
look good for
thank
a
you,
dead
thank
man.
you. Not bad, not bad, not
Not bad.
bad. Just, have to do the even it out because if you don't do it on both sides, something goes wrong.
I always like what Kathy Griffin said: "Touched by touched by an angel."
Yep, if not by a surgeon.
I need an angel to touch me probably for too long.
That's so I'm an artist. I am from Italian descent. I am a teacher. I am a New York State certified teacher, an art teacher for the past 27 years. Finishing my 27th year as a teacher, which is absolutely wonderful and spectacular. And I really do love every minute of it. And as I said before, I'm an artist and I really enjoy uh, finding out different types of art forms and going along with the momentum. As I tell my students, when I started doing art, computers weren't invented yet. So a lot of my stuff was paintings, and then computers were invented. And of course, I moved with the times and I started to create graphic media kind of things. And then once Facebook started coming and TikTok, I just try to move with the times. And this podcast of Tomorrow's a New Day is just me adding my talent to another medium. And I absolutely love it.
I know I wasn't really artsy as a kid because we didn't have the design stuff as easily available to you
Mhm.
do now. So I found out I'm a little more artsy than I thought I was. It's just a different form of art.
Yeah, absolutely. Art comes in all different forms from, hairdressers to architects and clothing designers, graphic designers, painters, anything and everything where a different part of your brain is being used and then people get to see it is an art form.
Mhm. My brain holds the useless knowledge really that could advance civilization. So if we fall, don't come to me to save it. That ain't gonna happen. But one thing about our podcast, and I get everyone who listens, always the first thing they ever say is, "Man, I love that narrator."
Hmm.
So why do you think so many people have fallen in love with you? Because you're not supposed to be a likable guy.
No.
But there's something you must do that just makes us love him.
Um, you know, Maybe it's because I love doing it that it's kind of coming through. As we've been, going through all of the episodes and thinking about who Lewis Abernathy is and me, like we really never really talked about like what his backstory is. We really never talked about who he was. So I had to read in between the lines and kind of figure out who he was. And in my head, he was a lovable guy that showed his emotions on his sleeve, but at an early age, he got burnt, and
Mm.
then learned to keep it close to the vest. So some emotions kind of come to the surface. There's some joy, dare I say, a moment of love, maybe not for his children, maybe for, you
Himself?
know, himself. And I think that in my head, um, he was always doing things to, ironically, stay alive.
True.
And within the first 3, 4 minutes of the episode, he was killed.
Oh, it was more like less than a minute.
And
You had like 2 lines
I
as
was
a
gonna say it might have been just 2 lines.
and
Yeah,
then it was like, boom, dead,
and
gone.
then he was dead, and that was it.
Well, I know from a writer's standpoint, we love writing for you because we can kind of picture, I can for sure picture how you're going to say it, or in my head, I can, like, that's how Greg would say that.
Right.
And it just, I'm like, and then once you say it, I'm just like, oh, it's like magic that's happened.
It's so interesting because sometimes when I listen back to it, the cadence and my movement and my speech kind of deal. Obviously, like I speak normally, naturally, a lot faster. My thoughts are in my head, and I could move my way through my thoughts and talk through my thoughts. I'm just really trying to honor the words on the page and slowing it down a little bit because I know it's really important for the listeners to understand what direction I'm pointing them in. So I slow it down just a little bit so they could process it and then let all of the other actors just shine.
I know you definitely shine. Even
Thanks.
Kelsey, she was going through some of the lines to edit, and she's like, "Man, that Gregory." I'm just like, I know. Which is why I'm excited that you're going to get to. Lewis isn't alive, but your voice is going to get to play him alive.
Yes,
Are you excited? And if you,
I
so,
am.
who do you hope to have a scene with most? Like, who do you want to go up against?
Um, to be alive, any of them. So I don't even care. I'm not even going to say, who do I want to have a scene with? I'm alive. Just put me on the page. Put me in, coach.
Now you're not a coach man, I can tell.
Not at all.
So,
Yeah, it just whoever, wherever we're going, and even with kind of coming up with that part, like I really need to pay attention to the fact that he's alive, and I'm gonna have to, I thought about it. I'm gonna have to speed it up a little bit. I'm gonna have to
mhm,
flow it a little bit more because there's a heartbeat. You
yeah,
know, so I got to work on that.
because now you are playing Sutton, pretending to be you. I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It,
It'll be fun.
oh, it definitely will be fun. So, what has been your favorite Lewis moment? You have some good, and I guess if you don't have a favorite Lewis moment, you're in every scene, so you have to have a favorite moment in general
Um,
that stands
Uh,
out.
yeah, I kind of like so I actually really do like the you know back at Abernathy Manor. Like I like that foundation. I
Mhm.
kind of enjoy that foundation. You know, I like talking about the direction and kind of the movement. And then I love where as I'm walking through it, then there's a little bit of emotion that kind of I'm like, oh, she thinks that she's good, but she's really not. Like I like those little things. I'm really trying to keep Lewis's emotions stifled. And I like it when it bubbles a little bit, and then you just give me those one or two little lines here and there. So just let it bubble, and then I bring it back. Today's recording was um, you know, some emotions that were kind of going through it. And then as it was happening, I still had to do stage direction
Mhm.
at the same time. And I needed to understand the difference between the two and, give the exciting kind of moment, show that little bit of bubble, and then come back at the apartment. So we could, I'm hoping that my um, foundation is
Mhm.
strong enough to hold all of the other actors on it. So I'm hoping that's what I'm doing.
I always, when I'd watch TV shows and they would, The Vampire Diaries, for example, Elena played like four different versions of her doppelganger.
Hmm.
And I'd always like, man, I bet that's hard to film, just having to, oh, did we get this? I actually feel like it might be just a little more challenging in audio because you don't have that visual element to help you. Because we were
Right.
talking about that when we were filming, like, all right, well, how would Rick say this as Sutton pretending to be you?
Yeah. And today's recording was I kind of have to go back, and I have to assign a part of my brain, and I haven't done that yet. Like I assigned Lewis a part of my brain because there was no other type of creative thing that was going on at this point. So he's been able to stay there and be comfortably tucked in that part of my brain. And now I kind of need to have another spot next to it. And I haven't found that spot. It'll happen. We might have to record today all over again. Who knows?
You,
I might
you
have to, my name is Lewis Abernathy. I'm
gonna
dead.
make them Southern,
I gotta make them
like it's written
Southern.
on the page.
Yeah. Which, by the way, so as I said, I'm a New Yorker. So I'm a New Yorker with, a sharp tongue and, my heavy accent and reading the lines from this Southerner.
Well, in my defense now too, it's a Midwesterner.
Eh,
So
It's
you
rough. Not rough in a bad way.
know,
It's
it's just like
it's rough for me.
I didn't realize how much, like, yes, we're all one country, but it's almost like every region is like a different country in a
Hmm.
sense.
Correct.
Like there's this TikToker who was talking about how people like they judge Americans for not being as well traveled. He's like, I get it now. Your country is fucking huge. Like
Correct.
we can go from London to Paris in an hour. You it takes you a whole day to travel one side to the next side, and
Yeah.
that's if there's no hiccups in your
Correct.
flights or anything. And I was like, huh, I never thought about that because I still haven't made it to all 50 states.
Hmm.
And I want to, but
Yeah, and you've done a lot of domestic
and
traveling
I'm
for
and then
sure.
I'm just like, I haven't even went to half the other countries in this world. Like I've been to Mexico, but tourist destinations, so I don't really kind of consider that as really experience Mexico because Cozumel is very much a tourist town, and then you don't go too far into
Right.
Cozumel besides seeing what you would see from the cruise ship.
Yeah, you stay in the brochure.
Yeah, you stay in the brochure because you're like, all right. Like I get nervous sometimes when I'm traveling somewhere I've never been. Like I like to be able to have things mapped out.
Hmm.
Just that's just me being precautious. I do that in the states and everything too because we drove to Wyoming and I was just like, "Do you think we're safe to go in this gas station?" Because I don't. I'm like, "What's their how they feel about me?"
I have a funny story. So I am in Louisiana years
Oh,
ago
girl.
um, with some colleagues of mine for training, and it snowed for the first time in like 20 something years in Louisiana,
Yeah.
and everything was canceled. Everything was canceled. All the flights were canceled, and each of us, I was fine on how long we stayed, but everybody else had family that they needed to come back to. So we rented this SUV and all took turns driving from Louisiana all the way back to New York. So it's the middle of the night. I am, you know, very monochromatic. I am wearing probably a black shirt, a black scarf, and probably black sweatpants to be comfortable in the drive. And as we pull into this gas station in Mississippi off of the highway, I see a bunch of guys get out in their camo gear, and I could see the guns in the back of the truck. And I like get out and I take my scarf off. I put my collar down and we go into the gas station. And so one of my friends was like, "Hey, do you want a cup of coffee?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love a cup of coffee." Because I was going to be like, "Yes, I'd rather have a cappuccino." Like, I was like, "Yeah, a cup of coffee's great. And get me some of those boiled peanuts over there." You know,
Well, I think when I was younger, one reason I didn't talk as much was because I was so nervous that my voice isn't deep. It's just this is my voice. It's I'm growing to love it. But I was always nervous, like, oh, am I going to get called? Screened it. Now I'm just like, if someone said something, be like, okay, whatever.
yeah,
Like you don't phase me anymore. But,
I don't even care.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's crazy that they're for what? Yeah, I've been in that in that drive before. I've got John now too, so I'll just be like, John, keep me safe, because he'll.
And I was in a car full of one, two, three, four other women, and I had to, I was like,
Well, it's weird. We have Southern hospitality down here, but it's like there's a line, and they're just some people. It's like, oh, you're different.
correct. Yeah, different is good.
I think so too. All right. Well, one final question.
Mhm.
What do you think sets our show apart from other shows? I was asked this question on Twitter, and I was trying to think. A lot of shows, they have that family unit that no matter what happens, they always come back together. We don't have that.
Oh,
Pretty
but
much
we do. But we do.
almost every
It's
member of the family we have showed.
dysfunctional.
It's what?
It's dysfunctional. We all come back to the manor because we want to see what we missed.
But I mean, like, y'all don't come, like, trying to see how I want to put it. Lewis Stott is like, oh, dad's dead. Uh,
It
Lawrence
was
is,
dad's dead and fingers were being pointed, and it wasn't like, "Oh my god, you killed daddy." It was like,
oh, they're
"Oh,
gonna think it's
you?
me.
Yeah, was it you? It wasn't me. Maybe it was him. Yeah, it had to have been him." And the boys definitely point the finger at each other rather quickly, and that's Lewis's fault. I'm not gonna, you know, it is what it is. I'm not happy with them. They're disappointing. Think about it.
Every one
Lewis
of your children is almost you're disappointed in them.
Yeah, but like think about it. Lewis had the perfect life. He had three ungrateful children that were not a part of his life except for here and there. He had a dead wife. Like he had money. It was perfect. He was perfect and somebody messed it up. That's the tragedy. Lewis is the tragedy, not everybody else.
Well, that's one thing I like about our shows. We don't make it where there are families out there that just they don't get along.
Mhm.
They're just it's maybe that's a we have some of that in the southern thing. It's just like, well, you're my family, so I guess got to deal with you.
Right.
And sometimes you can see that in this family because a lot of people would probably say, "Why didn't you just walk away? Your dad." Well, my daddy's still paying for everything, so I'll just say I like him.
And you just suck it up and keep on going with it. But like definitely I think this is a dysfunctional family unit with all of these extra people that are around it, and everybody keeps on attempting to kind of come in, but at the same time they, for the moment, pick an allegiance. The allegiance changes because it depends on what they need and what they want from it, and the allegiance changes a little bit, but it always stays within this, and this is their family unit. Dysfunctional, but there.
I like it. Well, they say write what you know.
Well,
What can I say?
hmm,
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Greg. I always love talking to you.
same here, same here. And I love speaking your words and everyone's words. It really is. I just have to before I get on, I have to wow wow wow. I have to
Oh,
like prepare my Harley Harlan Hancock.
that won't happen as much, but I do get what you're saying because when I record my lines, luckily as the director, I can do this on my own. I put on headphones and I turn up music and I read my lines as loud as I can to where I'll still hear it. But that way I can make sure I'm enunciating.
Right.
But it's something I just started doing. I'm like, what? And that for some reason helps me so much.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And I'll also dance a little bit as I'm just like, hey, Jen. I hope my neighbor can't hear.
Well, you have accused me. I do, like, if you look, I do move my hands a little, I move a little bit, and every once in a while, either I'll hit myself and the sound will, get caught, or I hit my desk, or I, slap my body, and you're like, we heard that. I was like, ooh,
I know. I keep
ooh,
my air kicked on. I was just like, but that's
mm,
what happens. It happens. So,
it does.
all right. Well, thank you again, Greg. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.